Hi, my name's Laura Batante and this is My Two Bits. Today I have this fun Santa ornament for you to make, all created from paper and quite easy to do and doesn't take very much time. So we can just jump right in. So the first thing you're going to want to do is download the template, which is free and available right there in the video notes. The second thing you'll want to do is collect the other materials that you're going to need, which will be some cardstock. I am using red, pink, and white, and then I have a very tiny amount of a slightly darker pink for his cheeks and a little bit of black for the eyes. Now, as is always the case, you do not need to do the small details with paper. You can have draw those on by hand if you like. The other thing is this one is glued down solid. The Santa that I'm going to make for you today, I'm going to use my foam adhesive, double-sided adhesive squares or circles or strips, doesn't matter, you're going to just cut it to fit so that we can get a little dimension. So I'll raise up his mustache and his nose and his eyebrows, and then you can also use a pom-pom for the end of his hat there if you want to do that. I also have my paper clips and my scissors, and then these are my hole punches that I'm going to use. This one is a standard, this one's just a little tiny one that I'm going to use for the features. And that is, oh, and glue. I don't know how I forgot that. We are going to need some glue to put down some of the flatter pieces. So there you go, that's all we need. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is cut out your template pieces. That just makes it so much easier to work with. If you just trim away most of the excess, doesn't have to be perfect, but it will definitely make it easier for you to do your cutting. A couple of other really good tips for cutting. One, always try and, create as little waste as possible. So use your cardstock carefully. I always save all of my scraps. That's why you'll see when I put out the little pieces, I could put out nice little pretty squares for you to look at, but the reality is that this is what I use. I'm going to use this little chunk for several other projects. It just sits in my little bin. I have two sizes, one of really teeny tiny scraps and then one with bigger pieces. So that's how I do it. All right, so for cutting, first of all, you'll see that I have attached it with the paper clips. You don't have to use paper clips. I also have some removable tape I use, but these are really easy to use, cheap. Everybody has some around the house. Second thing is, when you're cutting, you're going to turn the cardstock with your non-scissor hand. And you'll also notice that I trimmed away my cardstock too, so I don't have a giant chunk flapping away in the breeze here, making it harder to cut. When I cut a straight line, I am going to use this portion of my scissor, unless it's a really long one, but I'm going to point the tip where I want to go and snip. And the rest of the time, I am cutting with the very inside of my scissor, and like I said, I'm using my non-scissor hand to turn the cardstock. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut out all our pieces and meet back. All right, so I have everything cut out so we can get started. The first thing we're going to do is attach the beard, and that we will put on with our glue. You don't need to worry about the top too much. You want to worry about making sure that you've covered it at the bottom. You don't want to see any of this pink hanging out at the bottom. If you do have a little miscut, no worries, just trim that away before you completely glue it. It's always a good idea just to have a little check of your pieces before you glue them down. All right, for the nose, sorry, this is not a nose. For the mustache, I am going to only put glue on the roundish spots and leave this so that it curls. And the placement is really just that I've left a little bit of pink showing through as his mouth. And next we're going to apply the nose, and I'm going to use a little bit of the foam squares. All right, so for placement of the features, what I like to do first is get the hat on so that I have an idea of where this is all going to sit before the eyes go on. So it's always a good idea, well, like I said, give it a little test, make sure you like it, and then put the glue on. I just love the retro shaped ornaments, and that's what made me decide I wanted to make a Santa out of this shape, which is how he gets his unusual hat. I think he is kind of a funky guy. So as I had mentioned, you could very easily color these features in instead of using paper, and I would recommend you do that before you get the nose on. But you could totally get the hat and stuff on first. So that looks about right to me. And of course, they'll all be a little bit different, and that is perfect because we don't want them to all look the same. There we go. And that leaves eyebrows and the rest of his hat, and we're done. It's that easy. All right, a little bit of glue here. All right, and then for the pom-pom, you can either use paper or you can attach an actual little pom-pom. There we go. All right, so there they are done. This is the one that we just created today. He has all the dimension, and for the hanger, I've just used some embroidery floss. Of course, you can use whatever you have on hand. And yeah, he looks really cute. I think he'll make a nice addition to the tree. And again, like any of the paper ornaments, so easy to use these on the front of a handmade card so that it's a gift and a card in one. That's a really fun idea for the kids. And so I hope you enjoyed making this craft with me today. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you give the video a like and subscribe to my channel. And we'll see you next time. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.